The Wild West, a name that probably means something to you if you're watching this video. But if not, let me give you a quick summary of what the Wild West is. The Wild West is an open-world Western Roblox game similar to the likes of Red Dead Redemption, where you and your friends can live your dream life in the West. But have you ever wondered the backstory of the game, the developers' histories, and what led them to this massive success? Well, then you've come to the right place. This video will start all the way back in 2009 when Tires had just joined the platform to 2024, where the Wild West has become one of the most successful Roblox games. So with that being said, let's dive into the highs, the lows, and everything in between of the history of Roblox The Wild West.
Wild West.
The Wild West.
The Wild West.
The Wild West.
What is this?
Kill all these skeletons in the area, but probably.
Lady!
They tracked me down! Whoa! Zombies! The day is December 21st, 2009. A man has just joined this new gaming website called Roblox. His name is Tyrage77. Shortly after Tyrage joined the platform, he would begin to start developing games on Roblox. He made quite a few games that had little to no success, up until the year 2014 came. It's October of 2014, and everyone is getting ready for Halloween. Due to all the excitement for this holiday, Roblox decides to host a special event for this community, the 2014 Game Creations Challenge, with the theme of Scare Us Silly. Tyrage and his team of two other developers, LegoMan654 and Stroudy, immediately got to work finishing their game in just 3 days. Now you might be wondering, what game did they make? Well, that would be Confined, a story of shadows and death. Confined is a game where you suddenly wake up in a house searching for answers of where your parents went when everything starts to go wrong. This game is quite scary for a Roblox game made in 2014, but is more of an experience than a game. Confined immediately became a top hit on Roblox and won the competition.
Congratulations are in order for Tyrage77, LegoMan654, and Stroudy, the team behind Confined, which is the GCC winner for this year.
The original game has over 1 million visits, which was a lot for Roblox at the time. Even Roblox themselves made an official review of the game, which you can still see on their channel.
The number 3 top-rated horror game of all time and the winner of the fourth quarter 2014 Game Creation Contest.
It was praised for the incredible atmosphere and unique use of narrative,
No, this must be a dream.
which is rare to see even today. With the success of Confined, Tyrage had quickly made a name for herself in the Roblox community and would continue to work on games, and even making his own Roblox development group, Dragonfly Studios. Now around 2014, Tyrage would start working on a new game, Distilled. Unfortunately, from the research I've done, Distilled was never finished, but there's a lot of footage and screenshots of it. It seemed to be another horror game where you start in a dungeon with no memory
Huh? What's going on? Do you know where I can find any food?
and must try and escape from what the footage shows. This game gained quite a bit of hype, but was unfortunately never finished to my knowledge. There were many other projects Tyrage worked on, but one of them would go bigger than anyone would have expected. Sometime after working on Confine and Distilled, Tyrus met two new developers, which she still works with to this day, Anti-Boomzer and Tamara X. And while there isn't a lot of info on how they met, what there is a lot of info on is their game that blew up, Snowball Fighting Simulator. Around 2017, a game came out of the blue called Snowball Fighting Simulator. The game's premise was that two teams of 6 players battle with snowballs in a team deathmatch type game. The game was almost immediately a hit, and even some of the largest Roblox YouTubers played it. To name a few, Dennis, Thank Noodles, Gaming with Kev, and many, many more. Unfortunately though, the hype for this game would not last very long, as by January 2019, the game only had 40-ish concurrent players, and today has none. After the success of Snowball Simulator, Tyrus made $15,000 from it and used the money to get an internship at Roblox. Sometime around when he got an internship, Tamara X, aka Anti-Boomzer, and himself would create a new Roblox development team called Starboard Studios, and decided to come up with the idea of an open-world western game similar to Red Dead Redemption 2. You'd be able to be an outlaw, you'd be able to be a sheriff, you could hunt bison, gators, bears, deers, and many more animals. Be a barkeep and serve the town root beer, or maybe be a bounty hunter and hunt down the outlaws for a pretty penny. It was a very ambitious idea, and many were excited to play. On August 11th of 2018, the first sneak peek of the game was released, showing the lasso physics, which were, and still are, impressive, along with the logo. Then a few days later, the first sneak peek of a gun was revealed to be the Mule Shotgun. Sneak peeks were being released left and right, leaving many to believe the first playtesting session would be soon. When suddenly, Tyrus announced the first playtesting session would take place on August 17th at 8 p.m. PDT. 37 people were going to test the game, and everyone was thrilled. The response was very positive, and many were even more hyped to play this game when it would finally be released to the public. About a month later, round 2 of playtesting happened, which had a lot of hype, and everyone was enjoying the game despite all the bugs. But unfortunately, a lot of the hype would be lost because of how much the game's release would be delayed, and many were beginning to believe it would never come out. When finally, on February 19th of 2019, the game was finally released to the public for open testing. It costed 50 Robux to play, but boy was it worth it. The game took off quickly and was a critically acclaimed game due to its extremely advanced AI, showing deer, bison, bears, and gators with realistic life patterns grazing the west. Extremely satisfying gunplay with 4 guns in the base version of the game: the Peacekeeper, the Lamont revolver, the sawed-off shotgun, and the Yellow Boy rifle. An extensive open world showcasing 9 locations, those being Bronze City, the Great Plains, Pinewood Hills, Raider Canyon, Tribal Forest, Windmill Camp, Prison Camp, the Mines, Hunting Cabin, and many other small points of interest you discover by exploring the world. The Wild West got even bigger when arguably the most popular Roblox YouTuber, Flamingo, played the game. Quickly after that, his fanbase gave the game a chance, and even more YouTubers decided to play the game, like Sketch, Tanker, J&G, and Creekcraft. The game would continue to thrive with updates here and there, adding new guns or changing the map slightly, and sneak peeks would still come out very frequently by new members of the development team, Kazuhira and Red Terrain. Many would go on to enjoy the game until November 1st rolled around, with the first ever Wild West Halloween event, Callahan's Revenge. This was one of the largest updates in the game's history, adding a new location to the map, Callahan Manor, replacing the old ranch by Raiders Canyon. 2 new cosmetics, Callahan's hat, obtained by delivering the remains to the church, and is now the rarest cosmetic in the Wild West. The Wendigo mask, which is given to the player by killing the Wendigo. A new detonator and TNT charge, used to explode enemies with an even bigger boom than dynamite. A temporary storyline for the Halloween event, where he must uncover the secrets behind Callahan Manor while trying to avoid the ghost of Catherine Callahan. And the Wendigo, a monster that only appears during blood moons and is quite iconic in the Wild West community today. This update is still considered one of the best Halloween events and was well received until it ended a week later. After the Halloween event ended, the Wild West would continue to have semi-frequent updates, and the game, if anything, grew in popularity, and more people found the Wild West and enjoyed it. But soon, the 2019 Christmas season was right around the corner, and Starboard Studios took this to their advantage and developed a Christmas update that was released on the 26th of December. This update featured a snow-covered map, introduced a new temporary transportation method, sleds, and a Santa-themed outfit that was obtainable for a limited time. And even the game and all its game passes were on a 50% off sale, which led many to purchase the game for its very cheap prices. This update, despite not adding many new things, was well received, but would be one of the last updates in the Wild West for a very long time. Around April 2020, the Roblox-wide egg hunt event would be coming out soon, and the Wild West had been chosen to be a part of it. With this news, Starboard Studios made the Wild West free for a limited time and changed a large portion of the map and coding, making it feel better. Finally, on April 17th, the Wild West's newest update was released, leading Starboard Studios' game into what almost everyone considers the Wild West's golden age. The date is April 17th, and Kazuhira has just announced that version 3 of the Wild West has just been released. With this update came a massive map revamp, changing the sandy desert look to more grassy plains look. A new egg hunt event, making the Wild West free for a limited time, allowing players to hunt the dog holiday egg for 2020 Roblox egg hunt event. With this, lots of new players started playing the Wild West, bringing its concurrent players to an all-time high, and having new content creators gain massive success from the Wild West, like Batwing, Frenzy, and TTOFIC later down the line. Starboard Studios, realizing how many people were playing, decided to keep the Wild West free to play, leaving many more players to join the game over time. Over the next few months, the Wild West community would thrive, finding things to do to pass the time. There was one big question recurring in the community. When update? The game had not been updated for nearly 4 months, and people were starting to wonder what was going on with Starboard Studios. The developers, realizing the community was concerned with the lack of updates, would do devlogs occasionally, until finally, on September 21st of 2020, the faction update was released. This update was arguably the largest update so far in the game's history, adding an entirely new desert region to the map, featuring a new town, a quarry to mine at, and a mine with something fishy going on with it. 2 new weapons, the Hartford rifle and the Lock revolver, with very unique gunplay. A new steamboat that lets you travel around the map with a new vault robbery on it, and an incredible song on it too. Fist fighting, now you can punch and kick players over your root beer in the saloon, and the highlight of the update was the faction system, adding the ability to create or join other players' factions and wreak havoc on other players without hurting your fellow faction members, and so many more quality of life improvements that players adore even today. This update was incredible, adding so many key features to the Wild West that we all know and love today, and might be the best Wild West update in the game's history. Now, the community was extremely happy with this new update, and it would keep them busy for a very long time. But everyone was wondering, what happened to the building update? During late April, Tyrus posted a sneak peek showing off a new building system that would completely revolutionize the Wild West's core gameplay forever. More and more sneak peeks would drop showing off the building update, showing player-built houses, rugs made out of pelts, Indian carpets, and all sorts of furniture for houses. This made players believe that this update was extremely close to coming out, but that would not be the case at all. After the release of the faction update, many players assumed that the next update would be the building update, but they would be proved wrong when on August 21st, the forts update would be released. This update was very cool, adding 2 new forts to the map, Fort Henry and Fort Spencer, Gatling guns exclusive to forts, showing off full automatic machine gun fire, leading to devastating effects on the enemy, and 2 new guns, the volcanic pistol and volcanic rifle, which are only obtainable at forts and would drop on death due to their high damage and fast fire rate when banned. Now, while this update was very cool on release, it would lead to one of Starboard Studios and the Wild West's biggest issues: the faction community. The faction community is considered to be the toxic part of the community, where players called faction monkeys will have faction wars, where two factions battle out using the meta quick switching until one of the faction gives up. Now, while this may not sound bad, this side of the community is known for doxing, its toxic behavior, and exploiting, and many players despise them for this reason. Now, as you heard, I mentioned a meta called quick switching. You may be wondering, what is quick switching? Quick switching is where a player swaps his gun so fast that he can fire quickly enough to kill the opponent within a matter of seconds. For example, a player may first use his Hartford rifle and hit his opponent in the body, then immediately swap to his Navy revolver, hitting him in the head, immediately killing his opponent without giving them a fair chance. This new meta was becoming a quick trend in the community, and many players were divided if this was what the Wild West original vision was. Despite all these issues, the Halloween season had arrived again, meaning the Halloween update for the Wild West would be coming soon. And on Halloween night, the Forest of Bones Halloween event would be released for the Wild West. This update had much more content than last year's Callahan's Revenge update, adding an entirely new underworld map for a limited time that players could explore, kill zombie bears, and unlock a new skeleton horse in, 2 new cosmetics, a plague doctor mask, and a pumpkin hat obtained by buying it with bones by killing animals. The Wendigo has returned with a holster obtained by killing it, along with last year's mask, and lots more. This update was beloved by the community, and everyone enjoyed finding all the secrets and obtaining the new skeleton horse, even though they were a little confused on how to get it. Despite all the fun had, the Forest of Bone event would be reverted a week later. Just a month later, the seasonal Christmas update was released. This update changed the map to a Snow Cover Festival theme map, just like last year, a new gun, the Mayor's Lake, an outfit added to the game exclusive to paid access players, an entirely new side quest exclusive to the update where you get taken to Santa's workshop and must activate totems to unlock the new reindeer horse. Also, a fireworks launcher game pass was available for a limited time. Everyone seemed to like this update and were happy to have another fun seasonal update with cool items. The Wild West was updating so much and the community's morale was at an all-time high. Nothing could go wrong, right? One month goes by, and there isn't an update. That's fine, I mean, they're just trying to make the best possible update. Three months go by, and there's still no update. The entire community thought that the building update was close. Was it? Finally, on May 7th, Casual Hero released another one of their dev blogs, simply saying that they are still working on building, but a new update would be released to hold the community over. The Auction House update. About 3 weeks after the devlog, the Auction House update has finally released, with the highlight of the update being 9 new guns. 3 were obtainable through the gun store, those being the hammerless revolver, the Lindsay double-shot pistol, and the 1855 revolving shotgun, and 6 new auction weapons, the Lancaster pistol, the Guy-Caught chain carbine, the Guy-Caught chain pistol, the Patterson Navy, the Schwarzlow's prototype pistol, and of course, the Spitfire revolving sniper. This update also added 7 new instruments to the game: the harmonica, the trumpet, the drum, the flute, the fiddle, the guitar, and the accordion. A new black market with exclusive items only accessible with a black market key obtained from the auction house, new legendary animals that drop very valuable pelts, and last but not least, the auction house, a system that allows you to bid against other players worldwide for some of the rarest loot in the game. Now, while this update was well received on launch, it would go down as one of the worst updates due to it ruining the economy. Let me explain. Before the auction house update, the most expensive item was the Hartford rifle, selling for $12,000. But as soon as that auction house update came out, hundreds of people were bidding millions on these guns that were and still are considered necessary to survive in the Wild West. To get these guns, players would have to grind for a minimum of 20 hours simply to get a gun in a Lego cowboy game. Even though this update was well received on launch, the community still had one question. Where was the building update? It had been over a year since the first sneak peek of it. Shouldn't it be almost finished by now? But the community would be distracted with the auction house update for long enough. It's October of 2021. The Wild West hasn't seen an update for nearly 4 months. Sneak peeks would occasionally be released, but when would the updates finally come out? After what felt like an eternity, on October 17th, Kazuhira showed some sneak peeks, showing what seemed to be a skeleton lantern and a new reskin of a volcanic pistol with some kind of symbol on it. Then a day later, they revealed a new dev blog explaining that they were still working what each developer was doing, and the two new developers on the Starboard Studios team, Sky and Narukoi, and that there would be a Halloween update soon. But something was strange. Kazuhira had told the community that they were working on a new progression update, adding a leveling system that would give you perks or even weapons for leveling up by completing tasks. While this was cool, it left the community still wondering, what happened to building? Eventually though, the Sinner's Moon update would be released on November 8th. Adding a completely revamped trial forest with a whole new town in it, Silver Town, 2 new weapons, the cursed volcanic pistol and the ceremonial dagger, a new Wendigo horse that has a cool contrail and no damage can be done to its head, a new NPC system with hostile skeletons, a full-fledged boss fight, and a few new cosmetics that can be obtained for a limited time. This update was a massive success, bringing the player counts almost as high as they were during the good old days. The Wild West community practically all agree that this was one of, if not the best Halloween event, due to all the content it added. The update lasted through the entirety of November until it ended on December 1st. Only a few weeks after the Halloween event was over, it was already time for a Christmas update. On New Year's Eve, the Frozen Days Christmas event was released. This update once again brought back the festive theme map with Christmas decorations all over, an official trading system allowing you to trade auction items, rare valuables, event items, and even money. A new auction weapon, the Kukri Machete, a ton of new Christmas cosmetics obtained through the new Naughty or Nice token system, and a new Christmas-themed boss fight against Krampus, where you must get to his castle, destroy the crystals healing him, and kill him. This update is also widely considered to be the best Christmas event in the game's history, also due to the massive amount of content and things there were to do in it. But like all the other events, this one would end quite shortly after. After this update, there were almost no updates for months and months to come, leading the Wild West into the Dark Ages. After the Christmas event ended, many months would pass where the only news going around in the community was faction wars and the terrible events of developers being swatted simply for not updating their game. Many Starboard Studios staff members, content creators, and developers were personally being targeted. Due to the current toxic behavior in the community, many would leave the Wild West community, like moderators, YouTubers, and even developer Sky. This took a heavy blow to the Wild West community and would cause the remaining developers to be inactive in the community for their personal safety. Many months would pass where the Wild West would be absent on updates. There were barely any sneak peeks to keep the hype going too. The content creation scene was also becoming extremely dry, with the only videos seeming to be copy and pastes of each other. The Wild West to most players had died, and the only people still playing were no-life grinders or faction monkeys simply playing for their competitiveness. Still, months would roll by with no updates. It was now October, and everyone was asking the same question. Will there be a Halloween update? Still, almost the entire month of October, the community would go without any info on whether or not there would be one, until the night of Halloween. On Halloween night, Kazuhira finally made a post saying that there would be a small update, and small it was. On Halloween night of 2022, the 2022 Halloween event update was released. This update, although very small, added quite a few cool things. First off, there was a massive revamp to Bronze City, changing quite a few buildings in the town. Lots of new cosmetics were added and a few were brought back, which could be unlocked by killing the skeleton boss again. 2 new revamped shotguns, the Occult Sawed-Off and the Occult Mule, with the only difference from the original variants being looks, and a few new POIs that could be found around the map explaining what happened to a different game the devs were working on called The Wild Seas, and another game called Olympia, which is a topic for an entire video itself. And don't let me forget the infamous removal of quick switching. This update, even though it was very small, was enjoyed by the community. With the removal of quick switching, made thousands of players upset. Riots would go on in the Discord server almost daily, and there were mass bannings of players, leading the faction community to be even more upset. Even one of the most popular Wild West YouTubers, TTOFIC, was banned, leading to massive purges in the server of people spamming free TTOFIC. Eventually, most of the innocent players were unbanned, ending the massive purges throughout the community, along with the update being reverted shortly after its release. Less than a week after the Halloween event, a new update was released, the Sneaky Shane's Mini Update. This update was very small, revamping a few parts of the map and adding a new auction weapon, the Admiral's Axagon. This gun's price at first was outrageous, going for millions of dollars. In fact, the first Axagon sold for over $13 million. This update made the game even more grindy, showing that the days of grinding in the Wild West were long from over. Over the next month, the Wild West would go into another content drought, and the Christmas update being canceled made many more riot and leave the community. It's a new year, and there's new opportunities for Starboard Studios again. A few of the devs scrambled together a small little treasure hunting update, most likely once again to hold the community off for the progression and building update. On February 23rd, 2023, the Sneaky Shane's Treasure Hunt update would be released. This update, although once again small, added a new treasure hunting feature where players must hunt down treasures with clues to obtain new cosmetics, and even a new gun. The new gun, called the Martini Henry, was very similar to the Hartford rifle. It was obtained by getting 3 different broken gun parts and crafting the new gun with the help of the new blacksmith NPC found at Bronze City and Puerto Dorado. This update was well received and would keep the player base fairly high for the next few weeks, until the game would inevitably die off again. After this update, the Wild West would go for 9 whole months without receiving a single update. The player count was dwindling fast, and everyone could see that. But once again, Kazuhira announced another mini update called The Notorious Factions of the Wild West. This update simply added territories across the map that factions could claim, giving them notoriety, and whoever had the most notoriety would be number 1 on the notoriety leaderboard. Most of the community was not a fan of this update. It felt as though Starboard Studios were pushing the faction-type behavior in their game, though this update only lasted for about a week or two until, once again, the game died off. Even more months would go by with barely any updates. There was an update that added console support, but that was about it, despite Tyrant finally being somewhat active again and announcing things too. Finally, the Halloween season rolled around again, and many were wondering once again, will there be a Halloween update? Again, most of the month the community was left with little to no answers, but on Halloween night, Tyler77 made an announcement explaining that the Undead Legends Halloween event would release on November 2nd, 2023. 2 days passed, and everyone was extremely hyped for this new update, when suddenly, the unexpected happened. Tyrant, only minutes away from the release, announced that it would be delayed again. For weeks, the Wild West community was in a state of riot and anger. Many were once again threatening the developers' lives over an event update. But all that would end on November 20th, when the update finally released. This was by far the largest Halloween update, adding loads of new content. The highlight of the event was zombies. There were 6 mini boss fights with zombies, almost all of them having exclusive drops, and hundreds more zombies roaming around the map. A new Skinwalker boss fight, with new cosmetics and weapons obtainable by defeating it, along with the Wendigo boss fight, having its usual drops. New NPCs would walk around the map with unique dialogue and lore behind them, and a new Lightning Model 3 was added and obtained by completing the main quest, where you must stop the zombie infection. This update was adored by the community. Everyone would play it for weeks with the amount of things there were to do, until eventually it ended a month later. Shortly after the Undead Legends event, a very small Christmas update would be released, the Santa's Request event. This update added the old snow-covered map back again, along with the evil snowmen and their droppables, and a new red-nosed rifle gun obtained by getting frozen gun parts from Snowman and giving it to Santa. This update was quite fun despite how small it was, and everyone seemed to like it, even though it went on for far too long, ending about a month later after its release. And that leads us to the present day in the Wild West. Currently, the once legendary Wild West is dead, averaging around 800 to 1,500 players most days, most of those being grinders or faction monkeys. Many have quit the game permanently and moved on to new games. And as for the progression and building update, those are still yet to be released. It's been so long that some people believe it's just a myth now. I personally haven't even played the Wild West consistently for a very long time, but I still have faith that the developers will come through eventually. But one thing is for sure, the Wild West has completely transformed the Roblox platform. Starboard Studios has inspired many other developers to make their own Western Roblox game, and have created one of the most innovative and advanced mechanics on the platform. Thank you Tyre77, Kazuhira, Tamara X, Auntie, Sky, and anyone else who has helped the Wild West become the game it is today.